Matthew Dickey, man. Football, played for Ike, baseball, Rayfield, Fat Man, and then basketball and Jennings. Jennings is a big basketball community, man. Mr. Thomas, he's the varsity coach now, man. He was my middle school teacher. And every day after school, man, we hooped every day. And so that's where my passion for basketball came. And I just kept playing, man. Sports was just so fun to me. And I just kept playing every day, all day, man. And I just watched TV, Anthony Hardaway, Penny with my guy, and Jordan, and baseball, Ozzie Smith, football, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, quarterback. So I'm like, man, I want to be like them one day. And I just kept trying, man, and see what the Lord do. And I just went at it and see what happened.
Right. So you grew up in the part of St. Louis, Jennings. You went to Jennings High School. But talk about the outlets that were available throughout Jennings. But I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, just the Matthew Dickey. So how important was, can you say, like the community centers and the boys club are so important for just like the community and just to have an outlet for kids just to be involved in?
I think it's real important, man, because like I say, Matthew Dickey, you can shoot pool, man, you go swimming, you can hoop, football, all the different sports, man. So for me, it kept me out of trouble, it kept me focused, because I knew my mom, my parents, they wouldn't play. Like, shit, you getting in trouble at school or you making bad grades, you ain't gonna play in them games and stuff. So that was my motivation. Like, man, I can't get in trouble. I gotta keep my grades up, just try to stay on the right track, man. And then as far as Jennings, Mr. Thomas hooping out to school every day, that kept me out of trouble too, man. Kept me focused and doing my work, man, and being good in class. He like, man, if y'all get in trouble at school, if I hear anything about any teacher say anything, you can't come out to school and hoop. So that was my motivation right there, man. So like having the male mentors in your life, man, and kind of keep you on track, man, lead you down that right path was important.
So you touched on a couple like role models or like people that you can kind of like actually see that you just say, look, I want my game, or I want to pattern my game no matter what it is to these people. Were there anybody like locally or like within like arm's length reach that you can touch? Like, were you big into like the high school scene growing up in middle school?
I really got into the local stuff probably in high school, my freshman year. My older brother, man, he took me to CBC and review game at UMSL. And I kept hearing about Larry Hughes, man.
That's a big game right there. Go ahead.
Man, he put it down, man. He had like 40, man. He was crossing guys over. He just put it down. I was in awe. I'm like, man, this dude, he can suit up for an NBA team like today. Like if somebody called him, like, yo, I need you today. He could have played that day. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, if I could just take a little bit from his game and like I say, Penny Hardaway and just get a little bit of everybody, I'll be okay, man. But yeah, he was the first one I saw. Well, I was like, wow, this dude, he really legit.
Mm-hmm. And so from right there, so that was your freshman year. So did you say, by my senior year, I want to be on this level? Or like, what was your mind frame going into like year after year preparing for maybe just a high school season? Or did you even think that far ahead?
I wasn't even really thinking that far ahead, man, to be honest. I was still playing 3 sports. I'm like, man, I'm going to try my best in basketball. Mm-hmm. And then when baseball come, I'm going to try my best in baseball. When football come, I'm going to try my best in football. So I wasn't even looking senior year. I didn't even know about all the AAU. And I just see guys getting ranked. Like, man, this dude, I played against this dude. I did, pretty good against him. How did dude ranked and all this? But so I didn't even know all the AAU, the travels and all that stuff. I was playing baseball in the summer, but I just was taking it one day at a time, man. Just every game, every practice, I'm just trying to get better and better, man.
Mm-hmm. So you get to probably what, and I think, we all played against each other, around each other in middle school, going into high school. So you really kind of got on my radar as far as like, man, this dude doing it all. I think what was our sophomore year, we started playing together. Mm-hmm. And then going into your junior year, when did you get hurt? When you broke your wrist and had to like go through some adversity and kind of overcome that adversity. So can you speak to that? Because, a lot of times, our kids right now, we try to, we shelter them so much from going through some type of adversity. So speak about that and how important that adversity was for you growing up.
My junior year, man, I got hurt at AAU practice. I was playing with a team, man. And
I remember it just like it was yesterday. Don't speak on it.
Yeah. I was playing with the Eagles, man. And we were doing that one-on-one drill. I was going against Josh Parker, man. And Pee Wee, I scored on Josh the first one. And people be going off, you know, you scored on you, this and that. I'm like, man, I could score on them, like, you know. But anyway, I scored again and fell and broke my wrist, man. And I was mad. I'm like, man, I'm doing all this, and I wasn't even playing for getting any men. I done broke my wrist, so I missed the rest of the baseball season. My coach at Jennings was mad at me. So I just like, man, I know what I'm gonna do. You know, I missed the summer playing baseball. I missed the spring playing basketball. So I was just motivated, man. I just said, you know what, I'm gonna just keep working this senior year. I'm gonna try to have the best senior year I can have, you know, because I kind of took it for granted, you know, and it kind of got taken away from me. And that was like one of the toughest moments. And then again, like just not playing that much for their team, just sit on the bench. I'm watching, I'm like, man, these dudes, I feel like I can play with them. You know, I feel like I didn't really get an opportunity, a chance. So that just added a chip on my shoulder. I said, I'm gonna show everybody that, you know, kind of counted me out, man. When I come back from this injury, like I'm gonna do my thing. And by the grace of God, I was able to, you know, have a pretty good senior year.
Man, that was tough because I was looking forward to playing with you that year. And you know how so, you know, it was real competitive during like our time. Like we were always, you know, this era we would go, yeah, and I'm pretty sure this era also would go and reach out to try to find games and want to know, you know, who ranked over us or who's the best doing this, that, and the third. And we wanted to either play against you. And I don't think it was so much of playing with each other. We wanted to kind of prove a point to see, man, how this guy is. Because I always, you know, I was a student in the game, and I always looked at the stats, looking at other scores, man, who doing this and who doing that. And how is this person, like you said, ranked or getting all this attention? And I just gave this cat 30 the other night, you know.
Yeah.
So speak on your senior year, because it's kind of like you had a point to prove your senior year. Because I look up and like the first 5 or 6 games, you come out the gate, man, averaging almost 30. So what went into like your senior year? Because again, you also had to go through some adversity, even with teammates not really having like your full potential type team to compete even for a state championship on the basketball court.
Again, honestly, man, that summer, the AAU summer, I was really angry, man. So just not playing at all. I'm sitting there watching some of the games, and I wasn't getting in. And I learned during that time, it's not about the front of the jersey. You know, it ain't who you playing for. It's about just getting minutes and playing and being able to do your thing. So I came out my senior year. That was my mentality. Every game, I'm getting 30. You know, ain't nobody gonna stop me. I don't can stop myself. So I just came out. I'm getting 30, and ain't nobody gonna be able to stop me. And that's kind of funny how I got recruited. Matt Painter, he said he was looking, because they get the Sunday coach dispatch in Carbondale at the time. He was saying, man, he's a Brooks kid from Jennings scoring all these points, and who is this kid? And so he said he called Real Austin, and he said, that's Darren Brooks. You know, you should go check him out. So he said he went and checked me out. Like, oh, this dude, I remember him from last year, and I looked for him during the summer for AAU, and I didn't see him with the Eagles or whatever. So I figured he wasn't good enough, you know. So I'm like, man, they just assume because you're not playing on this team or that team that you're not good enough. But what if, you know, something happened, you had a death in the family, or you just playing baseball? So I kind of learned then, like, well, this AAU thing is really deep. You know, I didn't really understand. My parents, they didn't understand that. You know, they just like, man, go play baseball, go do whatever, come back home before it get dark, you know. So I learned then it's a bigger game than just basketball. So again, I just had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove people wrong. They counted me out.
Mm-hmm. So kind of speak on that. You mentioned Coach Painter, man, and that, you know, I just think, man, making that transition from high school to college, man, that's a big jump. And mentally, if you're not locked into what actually is going to entail to play at that college level, I think a lot of kids kind of get souped up a little bit going through the whole summer and playing on these teams, and they equate you talented by the amount of games you play during the summer. And like you said, they thinking like, man, this kid can make an impact on a college team. But talk about the transition from high school to college, and again, you having to overcome some hurdles and some adversity once you got to Carbondale.
Man, the jump from high school to Division I is a big jump, man. Just the speed of the game, the strength of the guys, the conditioning. For me, I redshirted my first year, as you know, but it was just the conditioning, man. Them dudes, we just did so much running. I was like, man, like this, it felt like track, you know. It's like we had running shoes. I'm like, we got some new shoes, and now these are the conditioning shoes. I'm like, we got conditioning shoes. So it was just it was eye opener, man. Them guys lifting all those weights, man, getting up early every day. But again, red shirt, and again, I feel like they counted me out. So I had another chip on my shoulder. I always found something to motivate me to prove people wrong, man. So I got there, and again, it was difficult, but I knew that the long game. I said, if I keep working, learn from these guys like Jermaine Durham, Kent Williams, keep studying, and same like you, I'm a student of the game. I just want to get better, and I knew eventually it'll pan out.
Yeah, because man, I made that transition, and the funny part about it is again me being naive. Like, I never had people in my family that was I was like the family first time athlete going through all of this, and so I just always thought hooping, playing pickup, playing constantly playing, and not so much as like the training part. So even my development kind of was kind of halted at a certain point with making the transition from high school to me having to go the junior college route, which in high school, I didn't put a lot of emphasis on lifting weights and training and doing all of these things that now is like, it's easily accessible in today's game. And it's kind of like, people get trainers real early, but making that transition. And it's funny that, that red shirt year helped you so much, and it helped our program get to the point where we finally noticed as a national, at the time, we're mid-major powerhouse, because we had the luxury in having talented people like yourself wait 1 year, and then you having that mind frame and saying like, man, I know I'm good enough, but the long game is real important. Let me just sit out this 1 year, get better. I still got my years of eligibility, and now we can stash you over here in the cut for a year, improve. But then now we come back, and within 4 years, we on the national scene, in the eyes of so many people. So kind of talk about that. And if a coach comes to a kid nowadays and say, man, we think it's time for you, or we think it's your best to redshirt, what advice can you give those students?
Oh man, I'm gonna start with the last question. I would just say, I know now, like you say, nowadays, man, everybody wanted fast. They probably wouldn't even want to go to their school if the coach is that honest with them, that real with them. But again, like you say, that their development, their training, the one-on-one you're going to get, the lifting weights and the ball handling, the shooting, all the stuff we didn't really get growing up. You can kind of develop that year and come back. So you got a whole year of understanding how college work, getting up, going to class, doing your assignments, traveling with the team, working out. You kind of got an upper hand on the plays and the concept. All of these things, you come back, you're a freshman, it's going to work out better for you if you do that. Instead of going in as a true freshman, you probably play 7-8 minutes a game, and it's like, that's cool, but it could have been more beneficial had you waited that extra year. And again, just to speak about, like I said, for myself, me, Brad Corn, and Roland Rock, we all redshirted together. We used to, work out one-on-one, lifting weights, and we all kind of talked about where we could go. Like, man, we could be really special this next year, just looking at the team and everything. So it bonded us closer, and we just had a vision, man. And like I say, thank God, it kind of worked out that way. We had a good run during that time, in 2000, 2005. We had a great run, man.
Mm-hmm. So, and we kind of, we touched on that, but then how did you get your mind like ready, or when did you start approaching like, what is life going to be like outside of basketball? Because again, so many of our youth, we put all our eggs in one basket right now. When did you get the mind frame of, let me start preparing for the next chapter in my life? Because I mean, the ball stopped bouncing for a lot of us. It may come early, it may come later, but it's best that our kids or the people that's listening start preparing ourselves for when that ball stop bouncing. What do you have to latch on to? So what was your approach, or when did you start thinking about that, making that transition?
That's a good question. By the grace of God, my mother, she's a real estate agent, and she always emphasized, real estate. People all need somewhere to live, so even in college, and when I got out of college, I always thought about, getting properties and homes and buying them, renting them out or selling them, whatever. So I kind of had that mindset even in college. So when I got out of college and started playing, I bought a couple houses, and the real estate game is a long game. It's a long game. And so in college is when I had the mindset that, like you say, you can't play forever. You got to use your mind, your education. That's why it's important. You go to college, you want to take advantage of the opportunities and get your degree. Some guys, they go and they don't get their degree. And I feel like it's like the school, they going to use you for your talent. You got to use them for the education as well. So get that piece of paper, because sometimes it's hard to get in that door without that degree, and so getting that education, that knowledge, man, is important. I learned it early. My mother was a teacher, St. Louis public schools for, I think, 20 some years. So she always instilled in me that, you got to think after the game of basketball. You're going to use your mind longer than you're going to use the basketball.
Right. And so even just speaking on the St. Louis Public School, like you had a stint in coaching and even made that transition to coaching, and you had some great middle school teams. And, I was honored to be able to coach one of the kids that you had at an early age, and we saw some in them early in Uri College. And so what was your approach on building a middle school program and then also impacting the youth as far as making sure that you give back to the game with coaching and being around athletics?
My nephew, man, he was playing, like I just came home in the winter or something. I was playing overseas or something. He's playing on a little team. And I appreciate the coaches taking the time off because they fathers first. They don't have to do what they're doing. But I saw a lack in like the fundamentals and just the basic things. And so I would work with them after practice or at home or whatever. And I'm like, man, I want to, teach kids the fundamentals, teach them what we learned, but teach them at an earlier age about, just basic stuff, using the left hand, pivoting, all these different things. So I ended up going to Compton Drew, Susan Reed, great woman, got me in the door over there, and Uri Collins and Jesse and James Little, the twins over there. And man, we started a little program. They wanted to get on the team, and we started the team, man. And just watching those guys develop and get better. But again, implementing the education, like we had study table in college. I'm like, man, y'all, we're not playing if I don't see these grades. They not, on par. You staying out of trouble. So instilling that in them at an early age, man, was big for all of us. I'm like, man, this stuff is really, really working, man. Seeing them coming to me excited with their grades improving, the game improving, the teachers saying they doing a 180. So it just made it better for everybody, man. And hopefully when they get old, they can go back and do the same. Teach young kids the same things you learn, man. And we can just keep this thing going.
Mm-hmm. So just in closing, I know we kind of got a little bit more time, but just talk about just the mental health aspect of, even with coaching and myself, we sometimes we get down on ourselves real heavy on losses, and it eat us up because it's kind of like, man, it's hard to make that next step or even do certain things when we know we lose. But as far as coaches, even at the young age or even at high school, what are some of the keys that you kind of take to keep your mind healthy doing wins and losses?
That's a good question. I just try to keep things in perspective, keep it, what impact am I having on the guys? Whether we win or lose, I want them to learn something, learn during the game. What could you have done better? What could I have done better? And hold each other accountable. Are you learning about discipline, being on time to practice, not making excuses? Being a better student in the classroom, being a better son to your mom and dad, So those are things I try to remember. If we take a tough loss and we winning big, we want to stay in the middle. We don't want to, we just won the other day by like 50-something points, but I told them, hey, that could have been us, so don't rub it in nobody's face and don't be bragging, making the other team feel bad, to still, have respect and shake hands and everything. So just the impact I'm having, man. Am I having a positive impact? And what can I do better, man, to help serve? I just want to be a servant, man, and to the parents, to the kids, and just be a positive light, man. It's a lot of negativity. And it's like you could just add something positive, even the positive word, anything positive, man. You can change somebody's day, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's that balance that we all need. Sometimes it's not even, even though basketball and sport is fun, but knowing that it's other things that are going on in life. And, even though this is a game and we use it, you got to keep things in perspective, even as a coach, because, once you lose that game, you have to go home to your family. Now you're going to cheat your family, your wife or your kids out of being a father because you so bent on that game and you can't, take yourself out of it. But so that's a big thing I want folks to kind of take from it. But in closing, where can folks reach you? What's going on nowadays? Like, I want to be able for you to get all of that, put all of that out, before we head on.
Right now, I'm a coach at varsity boys basketball in Texas, High Point Academy. I got basketball training, girls and boys, kindergarten. Got a couple guys overseas. BrooksBasketballAcademy.com. I got a book, Giving Back the Game. It's on Amazon. Again, kind of what we talked about, kind of put that all in the book. Man, a husband, father. I'm just trying to be a light, man. Shine for Christ.
Man, that's what's up, man. So, man, I ain't gonna keep you, man. I really appreciate this, man, because I know, time is valuable. And reason why I wanted to start doing this is kind of staying busy, because I don't really know when they're gonna let us go back based on all this, this crazy COVID stuff. So I just want to reach out to folks, kind of, pick folks' brain, kind of, do some experimental things, but at the same time, like reaching back, picking all my teammates, my former coaches, all their brains on what's going on, how they improving themselves, and hopefully when folks hear this, and whether if it's parents, whether if it's players, coaches, that they kind of get something from it, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you having me, man. That's good what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing, giving back, man. Keep learning. Just learning new things. We'll never stop learning, man.